Oh my god, we're back again. Yeah, that is exactly it. We are back again. Everybody in here is talking about this player. And I get it. I could ask y'all, am I original? And the answer would probably be no. We've made so many videos about this guy, and it is getting annoying. You know, Philadelphia Flyers fans are tweeting at me, commenting on my videos, saying, hey, Lego, get some original material for once. You just keep on dogging on our guy. And it doesn't make the Philadelphia Flyers fan sentiment towards Ivan Demidov any better, because both of these teams' fan bases are kind of going nuts. Michael Keaton style, right? But in this video, let's go over to a TVA Sports interview that was done with one of the most influential figures in the entire Matvei Michkov cucked by Montreal story. Today, we're going over to a piece done by David Reinbacher, 5th overall pick by the Montreal Canadiens in the 2023 NHL Draft, taken 2 spots before Matvei Michkov. Now, there was an entire article and interview done with David Reinbacher published on TVA Sports yesterday. Reinbacher, all eyes on the Montreal job. I've been training for this all summer, and there are a lot of good comments to go out there and discuss from the man himself. But of course, where there's an extended interview done with one of the Montreal Canadiens' top prospects, there will, usually, inevitably, be a discussion about the discourse, what fans are talking about in regards to these players, not just a conversation on his development or his experience or his transition from Europe into the AHL, but what the fans are all clamoring about. Hey, guess what, David Reinbacher? You're not Matvei Michkov. Do you have any comments about that? Sure, that's not nearly how it would be asked to David Reinbacher, the entire conversation of him not being Matvei Michkov and Canadiens fans getting pissed off about it. But let's go out there and talk about these comments by Reinbacher, because he does go out there and address the Matvei Michkov thing towards the end of this article. It opens up here by saying that all summer, David Reinbacher trained with one idea in mind, not to continue his development with the Laval Rocket. Rather, to wear the Montreal Canadiens jersey during his first game of the regular season. That's been my mentality. I trained for that all summer, said the Canadiens prospect in an interview with TVA Sports. There will be a hot fight with the other guys that will be healthy and will push us to another level. He also says that he is trying to shop for an apartment as training camp in Montreal approaches. I still have time. It doesn't worry me too much, he says. So yeah, it seems like he's really adamant on being a part of the organization and a part of the team, the top part of the team, that is, not the AHL team. Although I will say, just because he's trying to find an apartment doesn't guarantee much. If anything, it's probably the more likely of outcomes. But continuing on with the article and the quotes here from Reinbacher, he takes some time to talk about his summer training and how he's been going out there with other Swiss hockey players like Nico Hischier, Jonas Siegenthaler, Pia Suter, and J.J. Moser. And thanks to close supervision from physiotherapists there, his knees are no longer giving him trouble. I have no more problems with my knees, Reinbacher said happily. They did a really great job. I also recovered very well from my hand injury. I'm really confident going into training camp. Now pause. Did it just completely slip everybody's mind that David Reinbacher had knee and hand problems this previous season? Like, I don't know, I guess we got so caught up in the narrative and the story and how David Reinbacher didn't really have a good season in 2023-2024 because his team in the Swiss League was terrible, to actually notice that there were problems with him health-wise. I mean, it rings a bell a little bit to me, but I don't think we really discussed it as much as we could have. I mean, I feel like that's a huge story, would it not be? Reinbacher, knee problems, hand problems, and now he's going out there and saying that he's okay? Okay, well, maybe things are going to be even better next season then. Who really knows? I want to get a heavier shot, so I'm a bigger threat on the ice. Reinbacher goes out there and says, if he ends up developing a sort of slug shotgun kind of shot from the point, just lug it on net with high velocity and high rebound potential, I feel like that could be a really underrated addition to David Reinbacher and his overall game. This also was a discussion here in the piece. Reinbacher had a mixed 2023-2024 season marked by injuries and the struggles of EHC Cloton, which saw 3 head coaches succeed one another behind the bench. It was by finishing the year in Laval that Reinbacher dispelled doubts and offered convincing play. In hindsight, it's questionable whether the decision to send Reinbacher back to Europe was the right one. It sure wasn't easy, but I learned some good lessons from it, the young man said. I'm happy with how it ended in Laval. Maybe it was the right decision, or maybe not. In hindsight, it's hard to say. Now that is an entire other topic in its own right, David Reinbacher insinuating that maybe sending him back to Switzerland was the wrong move, but you know, I'm not going to make a big deal out of that, because I think a lot of people can acknowledge that, hey, he's probably correct. Maybe it really wasn't the right move to send Reinbacher back over to the Swiss League, especially considering the talent that EHC Kloten had at their disposal. They just were not a good team in the slightest. Now, this is the quote that you came here for. Let's read together the next part of this article as it pertains to guys taken after Reinbacher in the draft. 2 years ago, Reinbacher's selection, 2 years ago? No, 2 seasons ago. It was last year, buddy. Reinbacher's selection in the 5th overall spot was poorly received by Canadiens fans, who were calling in large numbers for Russian forward Matvei Michkov. There were outbursts, insults that Reinbacher could have gone without. Michkov's NHL debut is imminent. If the Flyer star turns out to be a dominant league force in his rookie year, the Canadiens' 2023 draft pick will inevitably be called into question once again. Reinbacher is not worried about it, however. I don't feel any pressure whatsoever about Matvei Michkov, our interlocutor said straight away. We are 2 different players. He's a very good player. We know that. I would say more that I'm looking forward to facing him eventually. When the Canadiens drafted the Russian forward Ivan Demidov last summer, many saw it as a blessing for Reinbacher, as the pick somehow reconciled fans with the 2023 selection. It didn't take any pressure off my shoulders, Reinbacher said. It's just what the Canadiens decided to do. It's their choice and their plan. It's in their hands. Now, is that not like the most ridiculous and kind of stupid thing to bring up? But I feel like because it's Montreal, because it's David Reinbacher, and because the narrative around Matvei Michkov has been so prominent the past year, does it not make sense to bring it up in general? Like, you ask David Reinbacher, hey, how do you feel about this guy taken after you that all the fans of the team that you're on, they all wanted instead? They didn't want you. They wanted the other guy. Like, how ridiculous of a comment is that to make? And for Reinbacher to respond maturely, professionally, I don't care about that. We're 2 different players. He's a good player, but I'm not going to let this entire thing throw me off of my game, only to rebound and ask, say, hey, what about Ivan Demidov? That guy was taken by the Canadiens this previous draft. Do you think that vindicates the decision to choose you over that other Michkov guy? So I do think it's kind of ridiculous that Reinbacher is even talking about this, but you know, I feel like it was kind of necessary at the same time. Ridiculous, but maybe necessary, you know? Like, he was not going to get out of the summer without answering a few questions at the very least in regards to Matvei Michkov and his existence, pretty much. Like, the fact that Michkov was even there in the draft and available to the Canadiens, it's always going to haunt them now. Whether or not you could say that Michkov or Reinbacher was the right pick, wrong pick, that doesn't matter. The fact is, Montreal has Reinbacher, and he's going to have to live up to answering these questions pretty much for the rest of his life, especially if Matvei Michkov ends up becoming the 50-60 goal potential guy that we think he could be with the Philadelphia Flyers. That doesn't dismiss the talent profile and the potential top 2 defenseman pairing guy that David Reinbacher can be. It's just, I think everybody can recognize that a 50-goal score, a 60-goal score, those are always going to be seen more valuable as a shutdown top 2 defenseman, even if that top 2 defenseman is as good as David Reinbacher can be. There also are some extra comments in this article about Yuri Slafkovsky, and the entire thing will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to it yourself. It's in French, so I had to translate this into English to read here on the YouTube channel. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about David Reinbacher's Montreal job, and how he's gone out there and answered some questions about his development, his injuries, and of course, about Matvei Michkov. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.